Hi everyone, I'm Michael Uriarte, or Dr. Mike, and welcome to Technique Talk, the MYK system, and more. This is episode 41 in our series of comparing and contrasting other techniques with the MYK system. Today, we're going to talk about the Atlas Orthogonal technique. If you want more information on either technique, I have the website links in the description below. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I have a lot more videos coming. Whether you're a patient looking to get help or a practitioner looking for a good technique to learn, this series is what you need. Let's dive in. Who developed the Atlas Orthogonal technique? So it was Dr. Roy Sweat is who developed it. So if we look at who Dr. Roy Sweat was, he passed away in 2022. So Roy Warren Sweat was born in June 25th of 1927 in Albany, Georgia. Good old Southern boy. And he grew up in Albany and graduated from the high school in 1944, right about the end, close to the end of World War II. So it says beyond this, there's not a lot of details about his childhood or things that went on. But in 1944, at the age of 17, he volunteered for the U.S. Navy and served during World War II from 1944 to 1946. And so that was kind of cool. He got to travel around. I don't know how cool that was if you're actually going into battle or whatever, but he did get to travel around. So his education, so he pursued chiropractic education and graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic in 1955, marking the beginning of a 69-year career in the field of chiropractic. All right, that's pretty impressive right there. So it doesn't really talk about what motivated him or what got him into healthcare, but the development of the Atlas Orthogonal technique suggests a drive to improve patient outcomes through innovative, non-invasive methods. So he collaborated with Georgia Tech engineers. That's kind of cool. So he worked with Georgia Tech engineers to refine the AO, so AO, Atlas Orthogonal, percussion instrument. And it shows an early interest in combining scientific and biomechanical principles in healthcare. So it likely sparked a desire to address spinal misalignments more effectively and comfortably than traditional manual adjustments allowed. Okay, so that's kind of cool as far as what kind of got him into the Atlas Orthogonal, working with Georgia Tech engineers. I find that kind of fascinating. That part's kind of cool. So it says, why chiropractic? And it says, personal anecdotes about his motivation are absent. Dr. Sweat's sustained quest to advance chiropractic care, particularly through the Atlas Orthogonal technique, suggests he was driven by a commitment to improving patient health by focusing on the atlas vertebrae's role in nervous system function. So he worked at Life University up in St. Louis, where he was recognized as a dedicated chiropractor, and his establishment of the R.W. Sweat Research Foundation reflect a lifelong passion for advancing the profession and improving clinical outcomes. Okay, so that's kind of cool. All right. So, and he just passed away in 2022. So he was, born in, 27? So 95. Ooh, that was good. All right. So it says, when did he develop the Atlas Orthogonal program? And, I used to say Atlas Orthogonal. I don't know why. Or Atlas Orthogonal. But basically, I had the French pronunciation of it, is what I called it. So I had Atlas Orthogonal, and it's Atlas Orthogonal. Okay. So, but he formalized it. He developed it in the 70s, and he formalized it in 1981. And So he wanted to create a precise, non-invasive chiropractic technique to address the misalignments of the atlas vertebrae, which he believes significantly impact the overall spinal health and nervous system function. And so the technique was inspired by a need for a gentle, instrument-based approach to replace the manual adjustments. If you go back in some of the old videos that they have of like BJ Palmer adjusting people, it looked pretty brutal. There were people, they had people laying on tables, and he would go into their thoracic area, their mid back area, and he would woof, and their arms would flail out in slow motion and stuff. It was, I mean, it looked, he delivered some force, let's say that. And so I think that some of these guys being around him were like, man, maybe there's an easier way, to get this done. So I think that's why, because a number of the talks that I've done from a chiropractic standpoint, a lot of the people were saying, oh, we developed this to have a gentler approach, and so I think that could be why, because BJ Palmer, like I said, if you go back and look at some of the ways that he adjusted, he got in there, and he would pack a wallop with you. So, and not that it didn't work, it worked, but, I think you can get a lot of that accomplished without putting in the amount of force that he did. So anyway, so the development involved engineering a table-mounted percussion instrument to deliver controlled corrections based on biomechanical principles. And so basically, they have a technique called the toggle recoil technique, and everybody at Palmer learns that, and that's, you used to have to practice, and they would tell you, they had these little, we call them speeder boards, so you could get your adjustment force on there, and you'd pop it up and pop it up and just do it over and over and over and over and get used to it. And then they said, if you're really good, you can put an egg on the speeder board, and with a toggle, you apply a little twist, and you could twist the egg and drop the board and have the egg spin. And I never did that. I could never accomplish that. That was not something that I was able to do. So, but we had heard rumors. We had heard stories that other people had done that. And so I would like to see a video of that, by the way. If I could find an old video, that would be kind of cool. So anyway, building on the toggle recoil technique from Palmer College of Chiropractic, Dr. Sweat refined the approach using advanced imaging and a percussion instrument to achieve precise atlas alignment, leveraging the neurological postural righting reflex to restore balance throughout the spine. So there's BJ Palmer went through a time where he called it the hole-in-one technique. And so basically it was everything from the brain goes through the C1 vertebrae to get to the body, and everything from the body has to go through the C1 vertebrae to get to the brain. And so there was a thought process that all you have to do is adjust that bone, and you can impact the whole body. And it works. I'm not going to say 100, nothing works 100% of the time, but you can get results with that. There are how do I want to say it? I'm not completely sold on it, that it can work on everything. So I have my little philosophy on that. But and I think BJ towards the end of his life kind of reverted back to full spine adjusting before the end of his time. But anyway, okay, so if we go into, so the MyoKinesthetic System, what got me interested in chiropractic and in healthcare. Basically, I had an issue where my mid back was hurting. I couldn't raise my arm, and my mom took me into the chiropractor, and he adjusted me, and I stood up. This is the fast version, and I was like, wow, I can raise my arm, and I was like, that was really cool. I kind of want to do that. And so I was about 10 years old, and I knew that I kind of wanted to go into chiropractic and help people from that standpoint, because I found that just fascinating. And then how did we end up developing the MYK system? Basically, we had started an office with myself and about 5 massage therapists, and we wanted number one, that was to separate out, because there weren't a lot of clinics that even had massage therapists back then and this is in the Kansas City area. I don't know about around the rest of the country, but in Kansas City, there was only about 10% of the chiropractors that worked with soft tissue at this time, 94, 95 timeframe. And so, we had a group of massage therapists and myself, and then we wanted to separate ourselves even further because my therapist wanted to try and see if we couldn't come up with a treatment versus a hour massage. And so that was kind of the motivating force behind it a little bit, was to, hey, if we put this together, this will separate our clinic even further from everybody else. And so that's kind of what we did. That's the very condensed, short version of how that came about. So what does the practitioner do? So with Atlas Orthogonal, what does the practitioner do? So they're going to go through questions, go through your symptoms, your injuries, your medical history, right? All that kind of good stuff. You're going to get possibly some orthopedic and neurological and postural assessments. Postural assessments I like, but they're not going to do it the way that the MYK system does it. They're going to include some leg length checks to detect spinal imbalances and scanning palpation to evaluate tissue texture, inflammation, or swelling. And then here's the big key for them is they're going to do some precise 3D x-rays of the head and neck to measure the degree of atlas misalignment, critical for developing a tailored treatment plan. So these x-rays are considered unique to each patient, kind of like a fingerprint. And so that's the big thing with them. That I would say that's the big eval difference would be they're going to take these really, really specific x-rays of your neck. And then the treatment for Atlas, well, let's go into let's do the eval for the MyoKinesthetic System. Basically, we can either go off symptoms. Hey, what's going on with you? Because sometimes you can't do a postural eval. If somebody's in a wheelchair, if they're bedridden, things like that, you can't really do a postural eval, so you got to go off symptoms that the person has. But if they're able to stand, you can usually do a postural eval. So we're going to do a postural analysis, and basically we just kind of go through, it's a scan. We're not really getting detailed. If you have to kind of squint and look and, gosh, do I want to call that? Do I not? Usually not. We're looking for big differences. And so it's really, really quick. You can do an eval very, very fast and come to the nerve issue that the person's having. So ours is postural analysis, but it's related to the nervous system from, what does each postural imbalance mean to the nervous system, and then how do we get there? So now, from a treatment standpoint for Atlas Orthogonal, they use a table-mounted percussion instrument to deliver a gentle controlled force to the atlas vertebrae, typically applied behind the ear. So this non-invasive adjustment realigns the atlas to its orthogonal or neutral position. And if you're French, you say orthogonal. So relieving nerve pressure and promoting spinal balance. Now, post-treatment x-rays verify the correction, and then follow-up visits monitor the alignment and maintenance. So the process avoids twisting or cracking, making it comfortable for patients. So basically, you're going to go in and lay there. It's kind of like a toggle recoil. You're going to go and lay on your side, and then they're going to come in with this instrument and kind of tap it. It says percussion, so I'm sure it's da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm sure it's that kind of a treatment. With the MyoKinesthetic System, we are 100% soft tissue. So we're going to, instead of moving a bone to have an impact on the nervous system, we're going to group the muscles, the soft tissue, and we're going to group it along a nerve pathway, and we're going to treat everything on that pathway. And it's really cool because people stand up and you go, oh, look, you came in with these postural imbalances and 2 of those balanced. You couldn't move this leg, this arm, you couldn't bend over, whatever it is. Do that, and all of a sudden their range of motion goes up. Hey, what was your pain level? The pain level goes down, and it's really, really fast results with this. And so that's the part that I personally like. So, but this is all soft tissue. It's kind of like getting a massage. I always say it's like a massage, but you're not going to get undressed. There's no oils and creams. And it's geared to get rid of your specific complaint that you have. It's not for relaxation. If you want relaxation, go get a regular massage. If you have an issue, if you have a problem, then the MyoKinesthetic System can help with that from that standpoint. Now, as far as treatment duration, so sessions for Atlas Orthogonal are typically 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, that's about. We tried to make the MyoKinesthetic system everything 15 minutes or less. So ours are, depending on the nerve level you're treating, anywhere from 3 to 15 minutes, depending on how quick you are. Right at the beginning it may take 20 minutes, but you work yourself down into where it's a little bit quicker to get there. So with Atlas Orthogonal, it's 15 to 30 minutes. The initial visits are a little bit longer because of the evals and the x-rays and all of that. 1 or 2 adjustments may suffice for noticeable improvement through chronic condition, though chronic conditions may require multiple sessions over weeks or months, depending on patient factors like age and severity. That's going to go with everybody, right? I mean, everybody's going to respond differently. So I don't knock somebody for saying that, and I actually appreciate that they say that because everybody responds differently. So I always say we can usually get results. We're going to see results in 1 or 2 treatments, up to about 4 treatments. We should see some pretty significant results. But if we don't, that's when I'm like, okay, I'm either on the wrong nerve level or this technique is not what you need. You need something different. And so I'm not opposed to then switching into another technique to get that patient better. The whole goal is to get that person better. Doesn't matter what technique you use. My philosophy, all techniques work. It's just a matter of, is that technique going to work with this person? That's the key. So what are some conditions? Some conditions that Atlas Orthogonal, see, it's a habit. I say it, Atlas Orthogonal uses, or that they say they can treat. So they got headaches, migraines, neck pain, back pain, vertigo, dizziness, fibromyalgia, asthma, arthritis, neurological issues related to nerve compression. Some practitioners suggest benefits for children's development and overall nervous system function. Okay. It says limitations. While anecdotal evidence supports relief for musculoskeletal and neurological symptoms, scientific validation is limited, and claims for treating conditions like asthma or developmental issues lack robust evidence. Well, I mean, we're going to lack some robust evidence as well in some of the things that we say we treat, because we're just getting started. We have 7 peer-reviewed articles on the MyoKinesthetic System, but some of the things that we say we treat. And so pain and mobility issues, that's number 1. So if you have pain or if you have movement issues, that's usually something that we can treat. We have a lot of sports injury things that we treat: plantar fasciitis, shin splints, low back issues. We've helped with symptoms from stenosis. We've got post-concussion problems that we have helped with. We actually have Idaho did a research on that. I work with University of Idaho and in their master's and doctorate program of athletic training, and they've done a number of research articles, 7 that are published. We've done about 8 or 9 that didn't get published, but the kids wrote them up anyway. I call them kids; they're young, but that they wrote up, and so I call those case studies. So we have case studies and we have actual peer-reviewed published articles. But we've helped with post-concussion symptoms. Meniere's disease, we've actually had some success with that. Any kind of headache, we get tremendous results with headaches, shoulder pain, again, mobility issues. We get a lot of that. And so, okay. From professions eligible to learn. So who can learn this? So Atlas Orthogonal, only licensed chiropractors with at least 6 years of chiropractic training can pursue an AO certification. So you got to be out in practice at least 6 years before you can get certified in the AO technique. Wow, that's pretty cool. Additional specialized training, including the use of the percussion instrument, of course. Advanced imaging, of course. You got to have those 2 things because that's the whole crux of what they're doing, and that's required. Yes, I would agree. Certification is offered through the Global Atlas Orthogonal Chiropractic Program. Wow. Okay. So it's limited to chiropractors due to the need for extensive spinal and imaging expertise. Okay. So the MyoKinesthetic System, who can take it? Pretty much anybody. If you want to take the class, I'm like, come on, you can learn this thing. So, but the main professions that we teach, we got chiropractors, massage therapists, physical therapist assistants, occupational therapist assistants, athletic trainers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all 5. We've got nurses and things like that. And so courses are accessible through the MyoKinesthetic Institute with no strict licensure requirements beyond professional relevance. So you need to be, licensed in your state in some form of healthcare. And then I'm like, come on down. I'm like Bob Barker, come on down. Yeah. So the accessibility. So we have a lot of flexibility in the training because we have hands-on classes. We have online on-demand courses. You can take 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then we have the live webinar classes. So you can get a couple different options. All right. So what's it cost? So for Atlas Orthogonal, man, I cannot get out of that habit. Atlas Orthogonal, the cost, it doesn't really say, but it says anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, depending on the location and the format. And then you have additional costs because you have to buy that percussion instrument. So I looked it up and I said, hey, what is this? How much is this little percussion instrument? Because it's very specific in what it does. So I found one site said $20,000. I found another site that said you can get this cheaply, $29,000. And I'm thinking, well, you need to scour the internet because there's other people selling it cheaper than you. So, and then I found one, I think he was just selling a part. It could have been just a bolt to it or something, but it was only $3,700. So I don't know what you're going to get for $3,700 when everybody else is selling it for $20,000. But maybe you're getting the tightening lug nut or something for it, and that's all you get. But anyway, so it's that's pretty pricey. That's pretty pricey, and then you have some ongoing certification fees as well. So courses are offered through certified instructors, often in person due to the need for the hands-on training with the percussion instrument. Okay. Cost for the MYK system. So basically, we've got $499 for the on-demand courses, $599 for the live webinars, $699 for in-person. You get anywhere from, depending on the state and the profession, it's like 18.5 up to 23.2. So there's our range. I always say 20 because that's what the class is, but each state has their little thing as far as we're not going to count this break or we're not whatever. Some of them say every 50 minutes counts as an hour. Those are the ones that give us 23.2. So everybody's a little bit different. Let's see. It says research. So there's limited scientific research on the Atlas Orthogonal. Studies on the upper cervical chiropractic techniques, including AO, suggest potential benefits for musculoskeletal pain, neck pain, and headaches, but rigorous, randomized, controlled trials are scarce. Well, those are tough to get, so I don't fault them for that. A 2013 study on spinal manipulation noted safety, 1 in 3.7 million patients. Experience adverse effects, but specific AO efficacy data is lacking. I don't even know what that is. Okay. Anecdotal evidence of patient testimonials are common, but not scientifically validated. But that's how it all starts. You got to start doing it and going, hey, this person feels better, that person feels better. And then eventually you can get in and get some study and get some research done. But it's got to start with, is it working in the office? Is it working where I'm doing it? And then with the MyoKinesthetic System, this is from the internet. So this is I pulled it up and said, hey, what's the research say? So it says the research for the MyoKinesthetic System, promising but limited. And so, but there is a study in the Journal of Chiropractic Medicine, reported 100% pain resolution in participants. And in the International Journal of Athletic Therapy and Training, it noted clinically significant improvements in pain and function. And so there was a case study on post-concussive symptoms, showed positive outcomes after 3 treatments. However, more RCTs, which are randomized controlled trials, are needed for broader validation. Yeah, I agree. I would love to have more as well. It says, while less controversial than some chiropractic techniques, wow, MYK's evidence-based is small and claims require further substantiation. Well, like I said, that's with pretty much everything. You got to start with, is it working in the office? And then I go out and teach some people, and are they getting similar results? Okay, cool. Now I feel more comfortable saying, hey, here's the treatment that fixes this condition. And then you start doing building and building and building, and then you have somebody go out and do some research on it, and then you go, look at that. See, they validate it. It works. So, but it starts at that. And that's with all the techniques. That's why I say all the techniques work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be out teaching it, because it's got to be helping somebody, right? It's got to be helping one or two people. So how many CEUs do you get? And it says with AO, you get 12 to 20. So depending on where you're taking it. And it's recognized by chiropractic boards, but approval varies by region. And so with MYK, like I said, it's 18.5 to 23.2. We're approved in most states for the different professions. And so, oops, I just dropped my pen. All right. Let's see. What else we got? Patient outcomes. Testimonials report relief from migraines, vertigo, neck pain, and some patients experiencing immediate improvement with AO. Chronic conditions may require ongoing care. With MYK, high success rates in different conditions, plantar fasciitis, lumbar issues, Meniere's disease, all that kind of stuff, headaches. We get acid reflux, incontinence, and those are the things that we've treated these people have treated those people, and we're getting the results. So got to come through with more research on all of that, of course. All right, cultural and professional perception. Oh, let's read this. Viewed as a niche chiropractic technique, this is AO, valued for its precision, but limited by its specialized nature and lack of widespread research. God, again, just knocking the research, I tell you. So MYK is gaining traction among sports trainers and therapists, particularly in athletic trainings, due to its practical application and reported outcomes. Well, and I think a portion of it in the athletic trainings is because I'm training all of the master's and doctorate program kids up at University of Idaho, and then they're going out and getting jobs with professional teams and college teams and high school teams and things like that. And so some of them, not all of them are using it, but some of them are using it. And so it's kind of getting its name out there. All right, that was pretty good. That was pretty interesting. I would love to find somebody high up in the Atlas Orthogonal thing and have a conversation with them and get more information on it, because I'm fascinated by it. So, all right, that was a good comparison. If you made it this far, smile.